Hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about a film that basically was released in 2020, but I guess according to IMDb.com, this is a 2019 film. It's the indie horror film The Lodge. I actually just got around to seeing this. It actually just came to my area where I live around the Madison, Wisconsin area. Um, I'm sure it played at film festivals throughout 2019 and so forth, but it didn't come to my area until just recently, so I could see the film and review it for you guys. Um, but that is today's movie review is The Lodge. In this movie, you guys, if you don't know what it's about this stepmother who joined this family recently. She married this man that had two kids with another woman. The woman is no longer around, so obviously he remarried to this person that we're introduced to right away. And the kids really aren't warmed up to her. They kind of lost their mother due to unfortunate circumstances. The divorce was just kind of out of nowhere. It was just kind of put off to the last minute, and all these really horrible things happened to this mom. So the kids never kind of really got over it. And so 6 months go by. The kids are still kind of not over it. The dad's trying to move on with his life. But he has something business related around Christmas time. And so, since there's this rental cabin up north that he really likes, he decides to take the family up there, get the stepmother closer to the kids, get the kids closer to the stepmom, give him a chance to be away on business and not be too far away from home, since they are several hours away to kind of make this trip happen from home. And so he leaves for this business trip. Like I said, it's pretty close to Christmas time, and he's hoping to get done with the business thing around Christmas time, so that way they can just celebrate Christmas as a family and things like that. And so the stepmom and these kids are basically left at this cabin all alone. They really don't get along with each other. There's still kind of that awkward um, moments with each other. They're still kind of not very comfortable with each other. But things really start to go bad when the cabin loses power. They get low on food. There's even a morning where they wake up and like almost nothing is in the house, so they don't know if they got robbed or if there's a paranormal entity of some kind, or if the kids are pulling a bad prank on the mom, or if the mom is pulling a bad prank on these kids, or the stepmom, I should say. So there's all these questions thrown throughout the movie, and so this really horrible stuff happens to them. The stepmom has this religious cult that she was a part of when she was a kid, that she was a survivor of, that kind of comes into play later in the movie that we get revealed to. Um, and that's not really a spoiler, it's in the trailer and things like that. Um, and so all this stuff happens within this house. The dad is far away. He's away on business for whatever reason, and the family has a hard time, reaching out to him and things like that. So throughout the course of this film, these kids have to figure out how can they survive all these days alone with this crazy stepmom. She takes all this medication. She has psychological issues due to this cult situation that she survived when she was younger. And obviously, she's hearing voices, and she thinks there's something in the house and things like that. So basically, the kids have to survive the mom in this house for a couple days, and the stepmom has to be around the kids for a couple days without the husband being around and things like that. And so it's just this gigantic mess that you hope that for both the kids and yourself and the stepmom, that the dad arrives home into this rental cabin as soon as possible from his business trip. So overall, guys, I liked The Lodge. I thought it was a good, contained thriller movie. It's also a horror film too. Um, I thought it was a good movie overall. I'm going to get to my positive and negatives in here just a minute, but it was good. There's things about it that I think are good, but there's things about it that I think are a little messy. It's not one of those movies where I can just like push you out to the theater right away and just highly recommend it to you and things like that. But there's good things about it. I think if you're looking, like I said, for a good contained thriller or a good horror film, there's definitely some good qualities here to look for in this movie. But like I said, there's a couple of negatives here that we're going to cover, but let's go over some of those positives and negatives of what I liked and didn't like about the film. So, for positives of The Lodge, I think the biggest compliment I can give this movie is its achievement in horror atmosphere. It really is a very creepy film. It really does set this creepy atmosphere in this cabin up north, um, whether it's late at night or during the day, or whether there's sounds, little sounds within the house that kind of really kind of scare you and really kind of make you think of what might be going on and things like that. This film really does have a beautiful sense of this scary atmosphere to place the characters in, and I think that's, like I said, it's probably the biggest compliment I can give this film because it is very effectively creepy here. And overall, the situation that these characters get stuck in and the location they're at is very fitting for this movie. The fact that there's this big snowstorm and there's ice everywhere and the roads are not safe to drive on and things like that. I live in Wisconsin, so I know what winter in Wisconsin looks like. I can only imagine kind of what driving in this place that doesn't get a lot of plowing would feel like during their winter. Um, and they're really kind of stuck there. So whatever is in the house is what's available to them, and whatever is not in the house is not available to them for a long time. Um, they lose power, and so there's things that they don't have access to, like a computer. They really don't have good phone service. Their phones kind of lose battery power and things like that. So there really is a sense of a scary situation and a scary location. That's all a very effective film overall. And like going kind of playing off of what I just mentioned, there is a lot of creepy, intense moments in this movie. There's scenes that really keep you on the edge of your seat, scenes where you're kind of scared to know what the reveals are on certain things. You're scared to know kind of what horrible things might happen to these kids now that this woman's kind of being pushed over the edge and hearing voices and is out of medication and really is kind of can kind of almost do whatever she wants at this point. And so there's just a lot of really creepy, intense situations that you really hope the best for the kids and that they kind of survive this time in this cabin with this woman. The film also has a lot of viewpoints on kind of both healthy and toxic religious practices. Obviously, what this woman faces is a very toxic religious practice. The way that she was involved with this cult group was not healthy for her mental health at all. She takes medication for it and things like that. Just the fact that she's hearing voices, and when she's around something that kind of reminds her of her past, she just kind of flips out and becomes this really horrible person that has, is kind of willing to do almost anything to kind of get rid of the pain and things like that. So the film's viewpoints on a healthy religious viewpoint and a toxic religious viewpoint, I think, is played around here because there is cases where people, if they feel like they're not worthy of God, they kind of may or may not do horrible things or do horrible things to other people that they believe that are not kind of within what heaven and all that kind of stuff would accept them as and things like that. So the film kind of plays around with these ideas. And like I said, it plays around with both a healthy and unhealthy / toxic viewpoint on those kind of religious practices. And like I said earlier, this really is a good contained thriller. They really are kind of stuck in this location. They're stuck in the house, stuck in near this ice rink out by the forest somewhere. They can go out in the yard if they want, but they really can't drive anywhere. They don't have a car. The dad kind of took the one and only car that they had. The roads are really bad. That with the cold weather and things like that, they can only be outside for so long. So the film plays off of these things very well, and like I said, it does overall make a very good contained thriller here. The film is also all practical. There's no CGI here, so I really admire the film's capabilities of doing that, really making sure that it's all practically done. There's no CGI creatures. Um, there's no everything you're seeing on screen is something that they actually had on set and things like that. So I applaud the film for that. We really don't get a lot of films like that anymore. So I like that The Lodge was able to do that for us. For my negatives of the film, though, even though it's quite clear that the dad is gone on business, for the longest stretch of the film, you really kind of wonder what's really going on with the dad because it really feels like it's more than just 2 or 3 days. It really does feel like it's multiple days, if not like a whole week or 2 weeks that pass that they're stuck in this house because there's so many times where they show a morning and a night, a morning and a night, and a morning and a night, and a morning and a night, and you really kind of wonder just how much time has passed since that dad did leave on business. And I feel like the film just kind of took advantage of that and really never clarified how long the father was gone for. And as a result, you really just kind of wonder the whole time, where is the dad in all this? How come he's not back sooner? Was he stuck in a snowstorm? They do kind of cut to him every so often, but I feel like they could have done it more because there's just so many questions I had as to what took him so long to get back to the cabin and things like that. So that was one aspect of the film I thought they could have clarified more with. I also thought, even though this film is a more of a slow burn effect kind of a movie, some of those slow scenes do feel very slow. They almost feel a little too slow. And I don't know if better editing would have helped this or not, but they do kind of feel too slow for a slow burn movie. There's also just a lot of dumb character choices. There's just scenes where the kids won't lock the door, even though there's clearly a lock on the door for when things get bad in the house and things like that. There's scenes where a character wants to go outside and really all she has is this blanket and no coat on at all and things like that. So clearly she's just going to freeze to death if she stays out there for too long and things like that. So a lot of dumb character choices done throughout the movie that really kind of are hard to root for the characters because you already feel smarter than they are as far as making choices go. Certain scenes try to add solutions to things and try to create reasoning for why certain things played out the way they did or why things get moved around in the house and things like that. And for certain scenes it really does create more confusion than a solution. There's just certain scenes that I think are just going to confuse viewers more than anything else as to why things are happening the way they are. I liked the mystery of a possible paranormal entity within the cabin, but there's scenes that kind of maybe make that think that that's not what's going on and things like that. And then there's scenes of once after those reveals that kind of hint again that there might be something paranormal in the house and things like that. And like I said, I think this just creates more confusion than answers for certain questions in the movie. There's also just a lot of really unlikable qualities in some of the characters. You really don't like the father because um, he moves on in really horrible ways. He really didn't treat his previous marriage all that well as far as wrapping that up and making the divorce go through quicker and things like that. The kids really are kind of unaccepting to new things, so it's kind of hard to root for them because they're just so unaccepting of trying something new and things like that. And then you really can't root for the stepmom because she's doing these horrible things and really isn't kind of looking out for the kids after a while, and she kind of is more interested in things that she brought to the cabin than the things that are at the cabin and things like that. So it's kind of hard to create a character to root for in the movie because everybody kind of has something really terrible about them to begin with. And I also thought some of the visuals lacked meaning in this movie. I guess the most infamous example of this is there's this dollhouse featured within this kid's home. I understand that early on this kind of foreshadows things that might be happening within this rental cabin. But they're at the rental cabin during some of these visuals. So I don't know if that's a sign that the filmmakers are trying to express something that they weren't able to express very well, or if that's something that was left at the house the way they left it there. So there's just a lot of things where I don't really know what the dollhouse serves after a while, besides just foreshadowing something that happens. But once they're at the cabin, what more purpose does that dollhouse serve than just offering creepy visuals? But overall, I'm going to give The Lodge 8 out of 10. I think there's a lot of good things about this film. I think if you like horror films or contained thrillers, I think you're really going to like this film and this horror atmosphere that the film creates. Um, but there is kind of huge logical errors about it, like why the dad's gone for so long, how come the slow burn is as slow as it is, and things like that. So good film overall. There's problems with it, but I like the film overall, and I would recommend seeing it if you like horror films or contained thrillers. I give The Lodge an 8 out of 10.